Hey guys, what is happening and welcome to today's video. So in today's video, we are talking about why real estate investors, contrary to popular belief, are bad news for homeowners and the housing market. So without further ado guys, let's do this. Alright guys, welcome back. So first of all, please like the video. It helps push this video out there. More people are able to view it then, so it really helps. So do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Now you may or may not have heard, but Better Dwelling, which is kind of like a real estate news site here in Canada, just released some very interesting numbers about the amount of investors that are investing in different parts of the Canadian housing market. Now, you may not know this, but I have been studying very closely over the past couple of weeks the late 1980s bubble and the 2008 crisis. And the reason is because we can learn a lot from these two crises. And it's really interesting when you go and start studying these things, because you just look at them and you're like, hold on a second, this is happening right now. So it's really interesting to do these things. I also spoke to one of the subscribers, Roberto. He's a real estate mogul, multi-millionaire, has owned properties across the world, and he has literally made millions of dollars in real estate. Now, he's practically retired at the moment, but he loves real estate to the point that he's still doing it to this day, but with a smaller portfolio. And he sold all his real estate in the US and Canada over the past year. And it was really interesting talking to him, because I got to learn a lot about the late 80s bubble here in Canada, and it was kind of a global bubble actually, which happened in the UK as well as the US, and it caused housing prices to go down. Now, the reason I'm going to first of all talk about this one is because a lot of Canadians believe housing prices are totally immune to going down here in Canada, which is just the worst sort of ideology to adopt, because it's not only just going to destroy your finances, it's going to make you make stupid financial decisions and possibly take risks that you don't need to take. So the thing is, one of the things he pointed out was back during that bubble in the late 80s, it was the same sort of narrative as we see today from the financial media. And the financial media is saying that it's immigration, that's their primary thing that they are attributing housing price growth to. And then they're also saying the same things as they were saying back then, which is drive to the suburbs. A lot of people are moving to the suburbs and people want more space. And that was exactly the same back then. In fact, he even sent me, I think it was from the Globe and Mail, an article that was from the late 80s, believe it or not. And the funny thing about that was, that article actually was saying about how people are fleeing the cities and moving to the suburbs, and it's the new norm and prices are never going to come back. And of course, after that, they went down significantly. The thing is, we can learn a lot from that. And I think I'm going to do a whole separate video on this altogether. But there is always an excuse. And I hope you got that in one of the couple of videos back we did in Phoenix. There's always an excuse to why real estate can only go up. It can be retirees, it can be immigration, but it really doesn't matter, because it boils down to these two things realistically. As a fundamental investor, it boils down to these two things. Number one, credit growth, and number two, wage growth. Because if the gap between credit and wage growth is too high, then that puts borrowers at risk of default. And that is exactly what we've got right now happening. But even to a larger extent, if you add into the mix inflation, it's way worse than it ever has been in the past. So the risk of a banking crisis and a financial crisis occurring because of this is so high now that it's almost inevitable. And the thing is, another thing about 2008, and this is really the golden nugget from this video, and the reason the title is why homeowners should be worried about investors, is because in 2008, contrary to popular belief, there was actually in 2017, the National Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US actually put this out, and it was that 70% of all the foreclosures that happened in the Great Recession and the 2008 financial crisis were investors. And not only that, they were investors that bought within the prior 2 years. So that was in 2007 and 2008. They were the ones that bought in those 2 years predominantly. So it was not the subprime adjustable rate mortgages that were actually the main cause. The main cause, and always is the main cause, is speculation. It's the same in stock market crashes. When the stock market gets incredibly speculative, it also can mean that it can have severe downturns, because the fact is people aren't investing for holding long term, they're investing for short-term gains. And it's really, really interesting. I don't know if you can hear that or see that, but up there, that is the Calgary police helicopter. It flies around even when there's no crime. It does circles of the city and everything like that. Because in case you haven't heard, guys, we're under a climate emergency here in Calgary. Oh my God, I know, a climate emergency. So the police has to fly a helicopter around burning fossil fuels for no apparent reason, because we're in that climate emergency. Just work that one out. So the other thing, guys, is that if you haven't got this, it's incredibly dangerous, because that Better Dwelling news article that I'll link in the description, it shows how much of the people who are buying real estate are investors right now, and it is the highest it's ever been. So that is bearish for the housing market. However, you would believe homeowners would actually flip this around and say, well, no, Luke, that's a good thing, because they are using cash to buy these homes. They're using cash to buy these homes in your eyes. When you come up against them in a bidding war, it looks like they're using cash. Fact is, they're using leverage, loans, and all kinds of other things. They've just got it in their bank account that they can use for whatever they like, whereas you can only use it for a mortgage. So that's the difference between bidding up against an investor that's like a big hedge fund versus bidding against your average Joe and Jane. And then of course you've got your residential investor that is using a home equity line of credit. They're leveraging their other home to buy extra rental properties, because they believe in their head housing prices can only go up. It is just a complete fallacy, guys, that housing prices can only go up. And you know, we're going to do more and more videos exploring this, but you just have to realize, guys, that a lot of investors in the housing market is a bad thing. In fact, that's a sign that a lot of the buyers aren't there anymore. So now you've just got investors speculating against each other, and eventually it will get to a point where they no longer speculate against each other. Even they see the price and think, whoa, this is getting a bit too much. I mean, how far can this honestly go, guys? I mean, people aren't going to pay $10 million in 10 years for a house in Toronto. You're out of your mind if you think that. They'll probably be paying $500,000 for a house in Toronto in 10 years. I don't know, but it could happen. It's more likely than 10 million. So guys, you just have to remember that investors is not a bullish thing for the housing market. It's completely the opposite, and it's a bad sign, and we've learned that from 2008. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. As always, peace and love, guys. Bye-bye.